Good afternoon and greetings, everyone. This is Dr. Tonya White Johnson coming to you again from the beautiful and sunshiny state of Florida. I'd like to welcome you to episode 14. And we're so very excited today to share this topic with you. This topic that we're going to discuss, it's so often discussed in my leadership development courses, in my as I'm working with clients, in personal development packages that we offer, as well as in career transition packages that we offer. This word, I think that we all use, we all need, we all do at some point in time in our life because it is absolutely inevitable. And this big 6-letter word that we're referring to today is called change. Change. Even as I say it, even as I pronounce it and enunciate the word, it seems so powerful. And indeed, it is a very powerful word. They say that the only thing constant is change. I want to share a little bit today from two perspectives of change. We've heard this old adage many times. We've said it ourselves probably. We've probably shared it amongst our friends, among our family, and we've thought to ourselves that this is something that we need to do. But today I'd like to just kind of delve into it just a little bit more. The old adage says, be the change that you want to see. And this is such a powerful perspective if we ever really take the time to really just stop and think about it. It is so important to understand that our perception is our reality. Let me say that again. Your perception is your reality. Whatever it is that you perceive about yourself is the truth about you. So today, if you perceive that you are a winner, that you are successful, that you are limitless, that there are no boundaries, that there is no stopping you, that you are more than a conqueror, guess what? That is your reality. It may take some time for you to get there. But we must understand today that delay does not mean no. It simply means that we must go through a process to get to the finish line. You've never seen a runner, a sprinter, an athlete on the track that just kind of, even though it may kind of seem like it, but they don't just bat their eyes and all of a sudden they're at the end, they're at the finish line. There is a process, and through that process, there are some obstacles. There are some hurdles to overcome. There are some aches and pains that we have to go through in order to get to the finish line. But if you perceive today that you are indeed at the finish line, I promise you that you will make it there. So again, I say to you that your perception is your reality. I want to share a little nugget of wisdom, and this works in all types of relationships, in your professional relationships, in your personal relationships. You know how sometimes we tend to see issues that people have that are around us. Especially in particularly people that are very close to us. Oh my God, we can see their issues. We can see their problems. We can share their problems with them all day if they allowed it. We could see our boyfriend's problems. We could see our girlfriend's problems. We can see our husband's and our wife's problems very clear. But have you ever stopped, and this is not in judgment, it is simply for you to ask yourself this question. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, why can I see their problems so clearly? Why can I see their problems so clearly? Why is this so obvious to me? Why is this flaw that they have so obvious to me? How can I see that my husband or my wife don't help around the house the way that they should? How can I see their character flaws so clearly? Leadership theory speaks of what we call a perceptual set. And it is the tendency to be selective in what we attend to, and in turn, what we perceive. They are those things that matter to us. They are those things that we perceive as important. Now, there are many factors that can influence these perceptual sets, including our feelings, our needs, prior experience, and expectations. Now, what we want to make sure that we are not doing is that we are not projecting prior experiences on new people in our lives. Now, this is particularly important in personal relationships, but it is also extremely important in order for you to be successful in the professional world. You cannot go into a new place of business, a new career, thinking that the same thing that happened to you in previous jobs is going to happen to you in this new job. Now, likewise, you cannot go into a new relationship with those prior experiences hung all over your shoulders, because as soon as you hear something that maybe sounds just a little bit like what you went through before, all of a sudden we're in our feelings, or we have an issue. So we do want to make sure that when we are perceiving those negative things about others, when we can so clearly see the big beams that they have in their eyes, when we can so clearly see the flaws that they have, that we want to make sure they're not coming from a place of prior experience. Also, we want to make sure that they're not coming from a place of expectations. Because sometimes we can go into relationships because of these prior experiences and have the same expectations. And I'm sure you've heard of what we call self-fulfilling prophecy. If you go into a relationship and you're saying, well, all men are the same, now you have the same exact expectations that you had of your previous relationship. And guess what? I can guarantee you, almost guarantee you, that you're going to get the same results, because that's what you are expecting. By the same token, if you go into a new job, you want to have positive expectations. You want to say to yourself that, and decree to yourself that this is going to be an amazing experience. That no matter what happens, this is what I've learned in life. No matter what happens, no matter what I try, I'm a risk taker and I don't mind taking a risk. I was sharing with my leadership class a couple of weeks ago how every job I've ever had was always above my skill set. And I like it that way because I like to challenge myself and I like to learn. And I always went in with the expectation that I am going to learn so much. So if for whatever reason I may fail at this job, I don't like to label things as failures because I believe that there are always lessons. But if for some reason I find myself not doing this job so well, I am still going to learn the lesson. So it truly is about how we perceive life. We want to understand that you cannot actually see something that is not first within your perception to see. Now that's powerful. You can't see something wrong with somebody else unless you're looking at it from a cloudy perspective. Because if you're looking at it from a clear perspective, then you can see how to either help that person, or you can see the good in whatever it is that you saw. If you are constantly assigning faults, then you may need to stop for a minute to figure out where this poor perception is coming from, not in the other person, but where it is coming from in you. Our lives will change when we come to understand that our happiness, our joy, our fulfillment cannot come from others. It comes from within. I often like to tell my friends and people that know myself and my mother is that my mother is oblivious to life. And it's so funny to me because it's not that she is without problems or there are not things that weigh on her mind heavily or she doesn't go through anything. It's just that, and I know her intimately, she lives with me, but it's just that she seems so oblivious to life. Why? Because she chooses to be happy. She chooses not to let anything negative get to her. So no matter what's going on in her life, she is always happy. So I call that oblivious to life because I actually aspire. I aspire to be oblivious to life as she is. There are, and we're going to wrap this up in a few minutes. I don't like to go over 10 to 15 minutes. So we're about to hit that 15-minute mark. But there are 5 steps that I want to share with you. It's 5 steps to make change happen. And one of the first steps is acknowledgement. We must first acknowledge the issue or the problem. We must first acknowledge, I'll take a practical thing that we all kind of battle with at some point in time, or most of us do, I should say. Say losing weight. Say losing those 20 pounds that we've been saying we want to lose for the last 10 years. At least I've been saying I want to lose it for the last 10 years. But I must first acknowledge the issue. I must first acknowledge the problem. Then I must make a commitment to change. Now, when I make a commitment to change, it's not just saying, well, I'm committed to change. It is asking the question, how, when, and where am I going to make this change? So how do I begin to lose the weight? Where do I go? What do I do? When do I do it? The next thing is, the third step is practicing the change. I must now begin to practice what I say I want to happen. So if part of my game plan to lose these 20 pounds is to exercise on a daily basis, then I must begin to practice. I must have a set time, a set schedule that I am going to exercise on a daily basis. Once I begin to practice this, the next step just kind of happens. It becomes habit forming. I know for myself that when I go to the gym every day, when I put myself on a schedule and I go to the gym every day, pretty soon it just becomes a habit and it's like I have to go. But when I stop, if I stop and I don't go for a few days, for a week or two, then that also becomes a habit of not going. So you have to practice in order for this change to become a habit. And finally, when it becomes a habit, we become the change that we want to see. Finally, the final perspective that I want you to look at regarding change is that the change that you want to happen is already within you. You don't have to wait for an event to happen for change to come. You don't have to get married. That's another whole session, another episode that we need to chat about. But you don't have to get married for change to come. One of the things I did is I was waiting on the husband that I knew God had for me. I decided that I was going to be happy regardless. I decided that I was going to be fulfilled regardless. And in making this decision, I went about doing those things that would fulfill me. I went about to find who I was, what made me happy at this stage in my life, and I began to pursue those goals. So we want you to know today that your change is already within you, and it does not take a special event to make that happen. We will share a little bit more on change a little bit later in future episodes because it truly is so deep and so powerful. But when you get it, you got it, and you can move on with life. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode. I hope you got a little nugget of wisdom that you can take with you today, and that it can inspire you and empower you and encourage you to keep moving towards your destiny. God bless you. I love you. And don't forget, embrace your greatness. Thank you.